So people are asking about how diamonds get set in gold, and so now I know that people, this is something that people are wondering. So I'm gonna explain to you guys a little bit how this works. Hopefully you guys can imagine this in your mind. So what happens is, like, when I'm making something, a jewelry, a ring, and a pendant, whatever I'm making, I have to choose stones first, like the diameter of the stones, how many stones and everything. So the way it works is, let's say if I'm using 1.5 millimeter stone, I cannot make the band 1.5 millimeter. Otherwise the stone will stick out from both sides, and then eventually when you hit it somewhere, it will break, it will pop out because it gets pushed out. So what I do is, like, I make sure there's a hair extra gold both sides, each side. So if it was 1.5 millimeter, I'll probably do it 1.7 millimeter. So I'll give 1 and 0.1 millimeter extra. So I don't want to do too bulky. Sometimes people make them a little bit bulkier. That would make the stone look a little bit smaller and bulkier. So I always like to give a little bit gold on the side. So what we do is, like, once we finish the gold, we put a hole in it, drill it, and then we just open that hole bigger and bigger, the size of the diamond. So the diamond falls a little bit inside that hole. So we push gold over the diamond and it holds in there. And then what we do is, like, we end up cleaning the excess gold to make the diamond, like, kind of pop out, and then those gold that it's holding in place, it looks like almost like a little prongs. That's how we do that part. So when we're setting a prong setting, what I do is, like, if the stone is 3 millimeter diameter, I'll make sure the prongs are coming outside the stone like that, not underneath, right? So I cannot make 3 millimeter diameter prongs, otherwise the stone has nowhere to go in. So it has to be out a little bit, so we can a little bit carve the prongs, the shape of the stone, so we can drop the stone in and then push the prongs over to hold the diamond. Another thing is, like, bezel setting, which is, I will, if the stone is 5 millimeter diameter, so what I want to do is, like, I want to make the bezel at least 0.5 millimeter wider than the stone, right? So I won't make it 5.5 millimeter. I will end up making 6 millimeter bezel because I want 0.5 millimeter all the way around diameter. So I would need half here and half here, so the stone is sitting inside. So what we do is, like, we have excess gold over the stone, so we make sure the stone sits lower. So we have to hammer all the top of the bezel, so it would compress the stone in and hold the stone in place. And then we can just clean it and make it all nice, clean, and polish it, make it sharp. And then clean the inside line, everything. That's how we set bezel set. Another way what we do is, like, if you guys wondering how the stones are sitting inside the gold, is when you have a ring that has, like, 1, 2, 3 diamonds and it's a wider space. Let's say if each diamond is 1.5 millimeter. If we have 3 diamonds, that would make 4.5 millimeters wide. So what I do is, like, when I'm making the ring, I make sure I do 4.5 millimeter for the diamonds, and then I make sure I have 0.2 between the stones, a hair space between. Otherwise, if the stones touch each other, they will break each other when we're setting the stones. So I make sure the stones are not touching. There's hair space between, and the outside and these 2 outsides, I will have little, like, 2 hairs opening space gold outside. So we can have the stones like clean the gold both sides, make it all nice and sharp. Same thing, what we do is, like, we drill and then we open the diameter 1.5, so the stone drops inside, so we can push the gold over to hold the stone in. And this is how we do each line. We go that way. So we drill all these holes by measuring the diameters and by opening them up for each stone, drop the stones in, push the gold over, beads, and then clean all in between. So that's how you put the diamonds inside the gold. And this is how we do the diamond setting. If you guys have any other questions, please write down below, and I will come back and do other videos for you guys to understand how the diamonds is getting set inside the stones, inside the gold. So the stones have culettes and the face and the round circle, and then this is how we have to open and make sure the bottom is open enough where the stone is not touching the bottom, and then we just push it in. This is how the whole thing is done. So leave comments, I would appreciate that, and I will make other videos for you guys to see while we actually working and making. I will make that kind of videos too, but this is how we do it.